Are you struggling to find something to do now that we're going through the writers and actors strikes? Too Opinionated has you covered. 625 and counting episodes of the best actors, musicians, writers, and everybody involved in the entertainment universe. Go to MeisterCon Pod on YouTube and subscribe, and you'll never miss an episode. Thank you guys for your support. Until next time, bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. So excited today. I've got writer Dwain Worrell with me. So welcome, Dwain.
How's it going, world? Good to be here.
You know, you're a really talented writer. I got my copy or my e-copy of Androne. Is that how we pronounce it? Androne. And I've just started it. It just came in this morning, but I've already read a little bit through it. And your writing is really well done, because it like I can see it in my head just from the description you're doing, which doesn't happen all the time when you read a book. This one definitely works.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, man. Androne has been something that I've been working on for about 4 years now. I started before the pandemic. I finished it in about a year, but it just, during the pandemic, sending it to agents, sending it to publishers and editors, there were so many steps in that process that it's something that's taken a while, and I'm really glad that it's now getting out there and people are able to read it.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and it's hard enough to write a book, but honestly, just getting it out there is the hardest part.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people go with the independent publishing route, and that was something that I had in mind.
Yeah,
I thought about it, but I did find an agent, I did find a publisher, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting with marketing for you. So,
yeah, I don't blame you. If you have that option, I think that's a better option, just because of the marketing side. You may not get that option and have to do it on your own, and that's fine, but it's a lot more labor intensive when you do it that way.
So much. I have friends who do it. They're begging for any sort of publishing help.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So Dwain, let's start this way before we talk about Androne. Talk a little bit about what got you into the entertainment business. What made you want to become a writer?
Yeah, I would say, and this is strange. The first time I ever thought about writing was, I saw back in like 1995. I saw the movie Combat, and that movie. And again, I was 13 when it came out, but Mortal Kombat blew my mind, and I have to do this. I have to, and I didn't know what.
You're talking the Christopher Lambert one, right?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. And it's not my favorite movie now, but back then, that movie moved me, and I saw it in the theater. And my family doesn't go to the theater very often.
Right.
Or when I was younger, we went to the theater literally probably 5 times in our entire lives as a family. That was one of the times, and the experience changed me. And again, I look back at the movie, and it's a little silly, but as a 13-year-old, that was Shakespeare.
Yeah, and I totally get it, because when I was younger, I loved that movie. I watched it again recently, because the new one came out. So I went back and watched the old one, and it doesn't hold up as well as you might hope, but it's still kind of fun to watch.
Yeah. It is. I still get that nostalgia. I still have fun with some of the corny lines and the corny VFX. But yeah, at 13, that was the pinnacle of art, and I had to somehow be a part of making films.
I love that. And it did have the best theme song.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It still does.
Did you have a favorite character?
Yes, I did, and this is why the movie had more of an impact for me, is because I played the games a lot, and for me, Scorpion was the guy. Scorpion was, when I saw, I think back to being 13 and literally shaking in my seat when I saw Scorpion come on screen. So Scorpion's my favorite, but I also liked Luke. In the movie, I loved Liu Kang and how he played it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Johnny,
I thought that actor that played Liu Kang did an excellent job.
and it's so sad that he never really took off. And it's, he's done stuff here and there, but I think he had a lot of potential to do a lot of great things, and he just sort of.
I mean, that happens a lot in the entertainment business. It's, it's not always about the talent. Sometimes it's just luck or opportunity that crops up. And yet, for whatever reason, he never really broke through after that movie. And that surprised me too, because I loved him in that.
Same.
Now, what'd you think of the new one?
I know there are people out there that I know who are involved in it. I liked many aspects of it.
Yeah, same.
But I think the total package didn't really click for me. There were certain, and I can't really put my finger on it, but there were certain elements that.
I mean, they didn't really have an arena fight.
Yes.
And it looks like maybe this next, the sequel is going to be a little closer to that, and maybe they're putting a little more time into it. So maybe it'll be one of those rare occurrences where the sequel is better than the original.
Yeah, and you saying that reminds me. Now I think it wasn't Mortal Kombat. It was like pre-Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Hadn't actually started. So I think that's part of what brought it down.
No Johnny Cage in that one.
No Johnny Cage. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
yeah. It was still cool. Like, the best part of that movie was probably the very beginning when you had them fighting kind of before.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, so good.
That part was kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That's pretty good. So did you have any thought or ambition at some point to go into the acting side of it?
No, that's interesting. So when I graduated from college, in college I studied theater. And when you study, you have to study writing and acting and to write. You study the whole gamut.
Yeah.
So I had some acting training. I went overseas and I lived in China for a while.
Okay.
And while I was living in China, I did act in a few films. Not because I have talent, but because they needed a black guy about 6'2" in some films. And that was me. I was there, and I had a couple leading roles, either as villains or boyfriends or whatever it was. And I did.
Awesome.
It was kind of cool.
I have copies of them.
Oh yeah, I definitely have them saved on my computer. I throw them out to people whenever they want to see. But I had a lot of fun. I don't think I'm a talented actor, so I don't think acting was my calling. But I did have a lot of fun acting over there. When I came back to the States, acting had sort of gone out the window.
Yeah, gotcha. Where in China were you staying?
I was in Beijing for 8 years. I lived there.
Really?
So yeah.
My wife, I was telling you, she works for Live Nation. She spent a month there for the Olympics.
We were there during the same time then.
2008. She was running a box office for him back then.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It was a pretty great experience for her. And I'm sure if you were there 8 years, you really got integrated into it.
I did. The Olympics were crazy. It was a wild time in Beijing. They pushed a lot of the migrant workers out to make space for the foreigners who were coming in, and it was a lot of fun.
She said the same thing. She had a blast, but yeah, they didn't exactly treat their migrant workers the best.
Right.
You got to get out. You can come back next month.
Right. 1 month, do the Olympic thing. You're right back in it. But great. It was great. They really put on a show, and I had a lot of fun.
So you got to do some writing on Iron Fist.
I did. Yes. I
like the Netflix shows. I actually thought that version of Iron Fist was pretty well done. I thought it was a little underappreciated.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Iron Fist was the first gig I got in television, so it was my introduction to a writer's room. It was my introduction to working with a showrunner and being on set. So it was a huge learning curve. Working with Marvel and getting notes from Marvel, and working with Netflix and getting notes from Netflix, and it's a whole machine, and you really start to see the moving parts once you get in.
Yeah, I mean, pretty awesome to just have a connection with the Marvel universe. That's not bad.
I agree. I agree. I I pushed for that. I really wanted to get into the Marvel world
Yeah.
at that point. So it was a blessing.
Were you a comic book fan growing up?
Not really. That's a good question. Not really. I my brother liked the Green Lantern comics. I like Spider-Man comics. My dad, I love him, but he was a very strict guy, and he comes from a very conservative background, and when he saw violence or anything, like, he would be like, you can't read this, you can't look at it. So we didn't really get to read many comic books when we were young. It was the devil, he might say. So we didn't get, and he's loosened up a little bit since then, but we didn't get to watch a lot of movies or get into comic books a lot when we were younger.
Yeah, and that's I mean, he had at least the right intentions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got a little bit of that, but it was more on the Dungeons and Dragons side. Is where I don't know that doesn't look like it's okay.
Right, right. Yeah, because you have the female characters and they have some cleavage, and then some of the people are saying some bad words. And my dad, if he catches a glance of it, he's like, "Turn it off. You can't watch it." So yeah, I'm glad I got to see Mortal Kombat when I was young.
Get him to go to Mortal Kombat.
Well, he didn't know. He didn't know. He thought it was a kids movie, and it was PG-13, but the 13 is what got him, because there was a curse word in it, and I know he got upset when it came on. But we got to watch the whole thing.
Here's the question: is at that age, did you know that he was going to get upset when you heard the word?
I knew. I know him. I knew that was going to be very upsetting for him, but I didn't know that word was going to be in the movie. So I think Sonia said it or something. I remember at one point he got upset.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the theater. It was fun, though.
Well, and I saw you did some of the new National Treasure.
I did, yes. Unfortunately, we got canceled, but I had a lot of fun working with Disney Plus, and our showrunners are awesome. The Wibberleys. I had a lot of fun working with them and everyone else in the writers' room. But unfortunately, with these recent cuts with Disney, a lot of the shows are getting taken out.
Yeah, it's a shame because we all love National Treasure, and I thought this was a good version.
Thank you.
Of the movies. I thought it was really well done. I mean, on the plus side, you're in now with Marvel and Disney. That's not terrible, because they keep back to the same people over and over.
Yeah, it's not too bad, because once they sort of figure out how they're going to set up their new platform with the budget for the shows they're going to put on, because it's really a financial situation that they're trying to work out right now. And once that is figured out, they're going to have a lot of new shows. They're going to have, new stuff, Star Wars, Marvel, and so on.
I know it's hard to know what you'll get a chance to work on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
I wanted to mention was you did the wall that had John Cena and our new Craven the Hunter.
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
No, that was great. And being on set I got to, and sometimes they don't need the writer on set. The director, Doug Lyman, he was great, and he allowed me to come to set. And, I was really just at craft services, eating the food and talking with the actors most of the time. I wasn't working too much. But John and Aaron, They were great, very gracious, very kind, and it's good to see that. Like you see people on screen, you don't know what they're like in real life. Like John is really really cool, really easygoing. Took pictures with anyone on set. They were both really kind, so it was good.
Ooh, I mean, he's a big dude.
Yes, yeah. He was over at Craft Services with me a lot, eating as well. One thing about John though, John also speaks Chinese, and there's this video of us just going back and forth in Chinese
That's awesome.
while Craft Services eating. So it was a lot of fun.
When my wife was preparing to go to China, she was playing Rosetta Stone nonstop. Learn Mandarin. Well, she played it so much at that time, me and the kids could actually speak some sentences because we heard it so much. Now, I don't remember any of it now because we haven't used it. But back then, I was like, I think we could survive if we had to get dropped into China. I think we'd be okay. But if you don't use it, over 50 years, you lose it.
Exactly. Yeah, it does drift away after a little while, but it's beautiful language.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to listen to, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, okay, so let's talk about the book. So,
okay.
Androne, where'd the idea come from? What's the book about?
Well, the idea came from, I can't speak on the origin of the idea, but I remember back in 2017, I wanted to write it as a screenplay. I wanted this to be a movie. And I wrote out the pitch for the story and the characters and everything else. And I went around town pitching the script. I was like, I hadn't written the script yet, but I started pitching the movie. And, I went to Warner Brothers, I went to Paramount, these different places, different producers. And I'm like, hey, look at this, the story, pitched it out to them. And they're all like, yeah, we're looking for more superhero stuff. And it's still sort of like that. And I think it will get away from that over time. But back then, superheroes, everyone wanted a comic book. They were looking for obscure comic book brands like Image and not Dark Horse, because I think that's with DC. But they were looking at all these different smaller comic book brands. Nobody wanted to hear an original pitch. Nobody wanted to hear an original story. They wanted some IP. So I was like, man, I really like that idea. And I was just like, and this is sort of one of my mantras. I say, if I don't write the next Spider-Man movie, there will be a next Spider-Man movie. Someone will write. But if I don't write this story, no one else will write it, because it's singular. It comes from me. It's something different. So I had to write it, and for it to exist, I had to write it, and I went ahead and I put pen to paper and I wrote it out.
I love that. And when I was reading through it this morning, that's what came into my head. I was like, this would be a great screenplay.
Yes, I look, fingers crossed. I'm going, once it's published, I'll give it to my managers, I'll give it to my agents, and we'll find a way. We'll find a way to get it out there.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. Yeah, I mean, you can always circle back, and then you get the best of both.
Yes. We'll see. My agents, I'll see what my agents can pull off.
I got faith in them. They can.
Yeah. Hey.
So what's the story about?
Well, how do I say this without giving away too much? Because there's a twist in the middle of the book that changes the entire story. You're not sure what you're reading at this point. But the story's about drone pilots. Our main character is a drone pilot.
Okay.
And drones in the future don't just fly in the air. They're drones on land. They're drones in the water. We don't get killed anymore in war, because we will send 100 Andrones, and Andrones are built like the human anatomy. Okay. Arms, legs, eyes, head, and guns. Very big guns. They're like Shaq in metal form. They're big, but they're powerful machines. So our main character is an Androne pilot, and he, is in a base in Vegas, and they're fighting this war. But here's the conceit of the book: we don't know who we're at war with.
Right.
We're not at war with Russia. We're not at war with China. We're not at war with any of them. But we're also not at war with aliens. We're not at war with AI. We don't know who we're fighting. There was an attack on a United States base 10 years before the book starts.
Okay.
And they obliterated everything. The only people who saw what they were fighting are dead. We thought it was China. We get our gunships. We fly to China. There's a crater in Beijing. Russia has been wiped out. The UK. Someone attacked us. We don't know who it is. And all the usual sci-fi suspects like aliens or AI, no, it's none of them. We have no idea who we're fighting. Say it again, sorry.
I assumed it was aliens. That was my guess.
No, not aliens, not aliens. I wanted to do something different here. Someone that the reader wouldn't be able to guess. And at the middle of the novel, that is revealed. And it changes everything. It changes the dynamic of the entire trajectory of the story. But
I've got a guess, but I'll wait till we're offline.
Wait.
I don't want the way if I'm right. I'm probably wrong. But
good. No, I'm excited to hear your guess. I'm excited to hear the guess. But yeah, so that's basically the idea of the story. Our main character sort of runs this little investigation in the first half of the novel to find out what's really going on. He discovers that, and it turns the story on its head, and it goes on from there. But that's the general idea of the story without spoilers.
Yeah, that's exciting because it's got a little bit of I'll say like a Starship Trooper vibe, where you don't know exactly what you're facing until you get out there. And then there used to be a sci-fi show that I think was on Fox, but it was Space Above and Beyond, where it was the same type of thing where in that case you were fighting aliens, but we didn't know what they were. When the show starts, it's a few episodes before you figure out that it's the aliens. So it kind of reminded me of that, just from the fact that they're fighting like this invisible enemy that they don't know exactly who they're fighting. I thought that was really neat.
Thank you. No, I think that's what really pulled me into the story. Like, I'm writing the story. I don't know who the enemy is. And I, as the writer, also want to figure it out. I really want to put pen to paper and sort of tease out that mystery. So It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I think that sounds so good. I'm so excited to read the rest of it. And then my son Brett wants to read it too.
Guess it. Then you might ruin it for yourself.
That's all right. I'm okay with that. See, it doesn't, for me, I do that a lot with the kids. They'll be like, yeah, do you want to know? And I'm like, yeah, you can tell me. It's not going to affect me. I'll still be.
Okay, cool.
I'm excited for it though. It's and my son that does the podcast with me, he's a librarian during the day, and he's like, "Oh, I'm ordering this for the library, so you're gonna have a copy here in West Virginia in the library."
That's awesome. That is awesome. That is very, very cool. Thank him for me. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, he's gonna read it as soon as I'm done with it. And I was telling you, I was going out to LA this weekend, so that's going to be my plane reading.
Awesome. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know.
Far it's been great. I've really enjoyed that. So, do you have plans to write more stories in this world, or is it a standalone?
There is another book. I'm in the middle of it right now. In fact, I turned in a draft last night. That's crazy. I turned in a draft last night. So I'm going to get it back on Thursday or Friday, and then I have to do another draft. So it's draft after draft after draft. But there's a draft of it in. So the second book is officially finished. There's going to be a lot of changes to it, but it is.
Yeah, but that's awesome. It's you're already ready to go. So you think maybe in about a year or something like that when the next one comes out?
Yeah, it's going to be about a year. Production takes a while because they have to do the audiobook, they have to find the cover art and all that stuff. And there's a lot of rewrites. They're going to have a lot of notes for me. I know it. And I'm horrible at typos, so there's 100 typos in there. But yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Actually, April 30th is the release date of the second.
Awesome. Yeah, that's quick.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. Maybe you could give George Martin a call and give him some pointers.
Yeah. Yes. Very, very true. I'm actually waiting for the book as well. So, yeah, George.
Poor
Yeah.
George. He got in a little over his head.
Yeah.
He thought
It's crazy. Has he given an update on when it's coming out?
The last I heard was he was close, but that's been like 2 years ago.
Wow.
And since 2012 was the last book.
Yeah.
I know.
That's insane.
If you write a second book, you're obligated to make a trilogy.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I think I just on the version that I turned in, I wrap it up pretty nicely. I sort of put a bow on it. But if it is very successful, if it does do very well, they will start knocking on my door. You know that nice bow you put on it? Can we pull it off?
All right, let's unwrap that.
Right.
How many pages is the first book?
I think it's 329, if I'm not mistaken. And the Kindle version is different than the paperback version as far as page count. But around that number, about 330.
Yeah, see, that should be a fairly quick read. That's not too bad.
Right.
I'm excited. Plus, that size should lend itself if you want to make it into like a TV show or a movie. Wouldn't be too hard to tap that.
I mean, the structure of the movie is already in there. It's 3 acts, character arc is all it's set to be a movie. It's set up to be a movie. Whether it will be or not, that's on
like the angle that your main guy is just a guy. He's just a soldier. He's not even high up in the ranks or anything. He's just a soldier. And these kind of like monumental, decisions and things he's going to have to go through. And I think that's a neat way to do it because that's really, when you think about it, if you're in a war, it's those type of guys that are doing most of the work, but the stories always focus on the leaders. So I kind of need to focus on the ones that are actually doing the fighting, even though in this case it's remotely.
Right. I love military stories. I always have. In fact, this is one of many stories that I've written in the military frame. I have a bunch of spec screenplays that I've written about guys in the military that haven't been made, and I don't know if they will ever get made. But I love that genre. I love sort of the everyday grunt being put to extraordinary situations, and sort of that average person rising. Like, they don't know how great they can be until they're put into that situation. And this regular guy in Androne, Paxton, he shows out because he has to, or else, that. So throughout the novel, he grows in many ways and does some amazing things. And I think that's the most interesting story to watch that underdog rise and become great.
Any thought on turning it into like a graphic novel at some point?
That would be cool. Because I love the visuals of the Andrones. I think the sort of mech fight that you would get in that would be visually, very appealing on the screen, on the big screen, but also as a graphic novel, that would be really, really cool as well. I'm not in that world at all. I don't know anyone in that world or, have any friends. So I don't know if it's feasible, but I would love to see Androne as a graphic.
Yeah, that's the way I was thinking. I was like, the visuals on this would be amazing in a comic form.
Yes. Hey, if there's anyone out there who's a graphic novelist who wants to hit me up, I'm sure Twitter or something will be in the link or something, so you can definitely find me.
Yeah, that's awesome. The story to me, that's one of the reasons I kind of liked it, because I'm reading it and I'm like, this is probably not the only version that we're going to see. You know, it's good enough to that you can make other things out of this story, which is
Yeah,
pretty exciting. Like it would even work as an audio drama.
that too. That too. Audio drama. I also think a video game would be
I love a video game.
an interesting way to play, because he steps into a cockpit, he puts a visor on, and he's basically controlling this thing remotely. That's in a sense what happens in the video game, in a video game. So I think a video game would be a very cool version of this as well. So
Little Last Starfighter vibes there.
yeah, hey, I'd love that George Lucas money, video games, movies. Oh, let's get everything going.
Who did the artwork for you?
This artist, and I apologize, his name slips my mind right now. But he was really good, because he came in and he gave us a lot of different versions of the cover, and he was, he showed us this option, that option, third option, and we went with the version that we have right now. But there was this one version that he had that was amazing, where because you have a pilot controlling a drone, it was like our main character with puppet strings connected to him.
Ooh.
And an drone standing over him. So there was a lot of metaphors in that image, and it was a really cool cover. But we eventually did go with this one, and this is the one we liked the most.
Yeah, I think it's a really good cover too. But yeah, maybe if it becomes a graphic novel, you could use that cover.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, maybe I should see what he's up to. There's actually a disc. I've never actually met him in person. It was sort of him through our editor, and then me, our editor, playing the middle woman in that process.
Yeah, I think that's pretty great. Does the book, do you go into like the emotional toll on these soldiers that are piloting remotely?
I do. For the main character in particular, but also his co-pilot, there's a decision that has to be made, and it's a tough decision.
Yeah.
Because he has a baby on the way, and his co-pilot has children, and the theme of children is very important in this novel, and he has to make a decision that will affect his life with his children, and how things turn out with them. So it's that part of it is one of the difficult decisions he has to make, and the emotional toll of killing people from afar, like that takes a toll on these soldiers as well.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, and that was kind of my thought, that even though they're not physically there, they're seeing things, they're doing things that
Yeah,
have an effect on you.
right. Exactly. And I think it's the same effect that happens on real drone pilots nowadays. Like there's this disconnect between them and war. When you shoot someone, when you're running in the field and you're sweating, and there's little cuts on your arm, you might be bleeding and everything else. Shooting someone else becomes difficult. Like it's seeing someone face to face with you, them crying, them bleeding, them, you can physically reach out and touch them. To pull the trigger, there's more difficulty there. There's more of a challenge. But when you're doing it remotely, it's almost like a video game to a degree. And how does that affect the character when they lay down to sleep at night?
Yeah, exactly, exactly right. Yeah, that's I'm so excited to read the book. Good for you for coming up with such a great idea.
Thank you. We'll see how the midpoint changes your opinion on it. But yeah, hopefully you keep enjoying it. Thank you.
What's been the reaction from like family?
Here's the interesting thing: no one in my family has read it thus far. I think my family. I love them. They're not an artsy family. They're not. My brother's in the military. My dad, they're strict sort of guys, and I I think they'll eventually come around once the audiobook comes out, and they can in the car. But thus far, they haven't read it. And it's only on Goodreads right now, and I've seen some Amazon reviews. So I'm paying attention to that and seeing how it's being received. And thus far, it's good. Thus far, the reviews are good.
Yeah, it's really. I think they would enjoy it if you can get them to read it.
Yeah.
Listen to it. Everybody, like my son and my wife, most of the time they're listening to the books instead of reading them anymore because they're busy doing other stuff. I prefer to hold the book if I can, or at least a tablet and read it. But yeah, in an ideal situation, I'd have the actual book because I like the tactile sensation. But yeah, so with the audio book, do you have any say on who's reading it?
Yes, I do. There were a few. No, they came to me with a voice actor. Well, again, the names. I need to look at these guys. And I know him. He's my friend on Instagram. We friended each other. We don't communicate a lot, but I love his voice and his understanding of the character.
Yeah.
They said, "Hey, listen to the sample," and I listened to it. He got it exactly right, and he's a very talented guy. He's been on multiple audiobooks, and he did a great job, and I was very lucky to have him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because if you're going to have somebody read the book so somebody, other people can listen, you better get the right person or it's just people are going to turn it off.
Yes. He's one talent. So this is the section. I haven't heard the full audiobook yet. It's not out yet, but they sent me a sample, and he's bouncing between these two voices. Paxton's voice, which he does perfectly, but also Paxton's godfather. He gets the tone of that character so well, and the interaction between them, how it's sort of godfather and godson, and the communication between the two. Once I heard that, I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy. So it was really the first guy they sent me. It's Brilliance Audio, and they know what they're doing. They've had experience with this voice actor, and he came in and he killed it. So
yeah, it's not easy to do. I mean, just sitting in a room and reading a book, but making it come alive, that's talent. That's not easy.
And giving everyone a voice. He's doing everyone's voice. Women's voices, men's voices, adults, children. He's doing so many different voices, and each one of them is distinct. And that's amazing. So did a great job.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, Dwain, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us a little insight into the book. And good for you. 4 years. That's a long wait to get your creative out there.
Yeah. I'm so glad that, it's paid off. 4 years is, the eventuality of that is finally here and it's about to get published. So go out and buy Androne. Great military science fiction story. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So a couple little things before we wrap up. Is there anything else that you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Well, check out Androne 2. It's called Alliance. That's coming out April next year.
Yep.
And season 2 of a CBS show called Fire Country.
Yeah, we like Fire Country.
Awesome. That's coming out as well after the writer's strike.
Right.
So let's figure that out.
Yeah, we got to take care of our people. Let's get those up so we can get this. We're going to run out of stuff at some point. We got to get new stuff made.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. But yes, you can check me out on Twitter or Instagram and or at DwainWorrell.com. That's my website.
Yeah. Do you do your own website?
I do, and I need to get someone else to do it because it's the ugliest website you've ever seen. At some point, I need to hire somebody to take care of that for me.
Not easy keeping up a web.
It's not. It's so hard, and I haven't even added all the things that I need to add, the news stories, everything else. So I will slowly but surely, get in there and start fixing it and getting it up to date.
Yeah. Well, you have to now. The book's coming out.
Yeah.
Well, Dwain, thank you so much for coming on the show. When book 2 comes out, come back. We'll talk about it too.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you so much, Mike.
This has been terrific. Okay, hold on one second. All right, so that was author Dwain Worrell. The book is Androne. Make sure you check that out. You can get it anywhere. I got my copy from Amazon, but it will be available anywhere. So definitely support him. I think it's a terrific idea. Just so you know, my guess was right. So I'm not going to tell you what it was, but I was right. I had the correct guess. So we'll see what you guys can come up with. But just a terrifically talented guy and wonderful to talk to. So if you're able, please support Androne. Definitely think at some point we're going to see this in another form, whether it's a movie, TV show, graphic novel, audio drama. We'll see it in some other form. It's that good. I think we mentioned most of the things that Dwain has been working on. I mean, Iron Fist, National Treasure, Iron Fist, National Treasure, Fire Country, The Wall. We mentioned all those. He also did some work on FBI Most Wanted. We didn't mention that. And then he's got something in development called Dante's Inferno, which, if it's based on the original, that should be really interesting. I didn't ask specifically about it because there is a writers and an actors strike, so I'm trying to be aware of that, not put anyone into a difficult situation as far as what they're able to talk about. But that is one, Dante's Inferno, that I'm really interested in, and Dwain was the writer for that, or a writer for that. So kind of keep your eye out for that one as well. If you enjoyed this today and you're finding us for the first time, thank you. Really appreciate the support and the interest. If you liked it and you'd like to support us further, a couple of easy ways to do that, and they're free. We don't ask for any money. We just want your support. If you're watching, it's YouTube MeisterCon Pod. If you could just hit that subscribe button, really helps us out. If you're listening, just wherever you listen to your podcast from, subscribe there. That'll help us as well. We are recently named one of IMDb's top 100 podcasts. There's 15 million podcasts out there. Only about 40,000 of them are to the point that they're listed on IMDb, which is the entertainment database. Of those 40,000 of the 15 million, we were number 82. So we're really proud of that. We're just a father and son team. My son Brett will occasionally appear on camera, but he does all the editing for us. And that's it. It's just us. So we're so grateful, so humbled, so proud that we're in a top 100 podcast. So I mentioned that because if you would go take a minute or a few seconds, actually, and go to imdb.com, and just look up Too Opinionated. That's it. Just bring the page up for Too Opinionated. It helps us so much. Just that traffic on the page. You don't have to do anything else. Just bring it up. But if you do bring it up, you maybe take a look at the episode list, the cast list, and you'll see the amazing interviews we have done for the show. Hundreds of people involved in the entertainment industry. My opinion, our guest list is the reason that our podcast does so well. We have been just so blessed with the people we've gotten to talk to. I would put our guest list up against any other podcast, TV show, talk show, anything. I'm that proud of who we've had on the show. Thank you guys so much. You can find today, I put out episode 645. You can find all of those, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. It'll also let you know if we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, anything we have going on, will be on the website, meistercon.com. So definitely find us there as well. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm once again here to ask for your support. It's been a big year for the Two Opinionated podcast. Back in February, we got to live out a dream, moderate for William Shatner here in our hometown. In May, we passed 100,000 downloads on our YouTube channel, and we followed that up in June with 50,000 downloads on the audio side. We recently posted our 600th episode, which is pretty good volume for just a father and son operation. You know, not too many podcasts can keep that volume up. We've been doing this now for 4.5 years, 600 plus episodes. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is a really big deal for us because we've always gotten the views, but have struggled to get people to subscribe. So that 1,000 was a big deal for us. And best of all, we were recently named one of the top podcasts on IMDb, which is the entertainment database. You know, those that are ahead of us, we came in at number 82. Those that are ahead of us are bigger companies like Disney, mostly Marvel, and Joe Rogan, that type of podcast. So for us, being just a small West Virginia father and son podcast, to be in the top 100 out of 15 million, it's a pretty big deal for us. So thank you for everything you've done for us so far. Got a couple little ways, though, that you can help us, and they're free, and they're really easy. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, please go to YouTube. It's under MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Really helps us a ton. And maybe even more important, if you could go to IMDb, imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and just look around the page. Just having that traffic on the page really helps us out. So that's a couple easy ways that you can support us, even if you're not listening or watching all of the time. And we want you to listen and watch, because I think that our guest list, I would put up against anybody, any other show, podcast, anybody out there. I think our guest list holds up. So please check us out. You probably will find somebody that you like, or maybe somebody that you didn't know you liked, but kind of discovered them on there. There's tons of that. If you're into music, we have that too. If you like books, we've got authors on there. If you're more into what goes on behind the scenes in the entertainment world, you know, we've got producers, directors, video artists, anything you can think of that happens behind the scenes, we've had them on the show. So definitely check us out. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.